Righty, right. Oh god, I've got to do an intro. Fuck. Welcome back to the Mental Manny Podcast. We've got a special guest today. One of my brothers here, the one and only Josh. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Back.
Do you want to give yourself a proper introduction?
Yeah, man. It's just Josh, man, aka Young Cokes, boy. Yeah.
Alright, so people probably won't know how we met or anything like that. So we can talk a little bit about that.
But I can't even remember though. Like,
No, it don't have to be like the day we met, but like how we met
I
and
remember
how
like
coming into contact.
Yeah, bro. I remember when you were. It was just like when you were fucking high as shit at that house party, bro.
Trust. Wait, which one?
The
Oh,
Tommy's, bro.
Tommy's.
Yeah, Tommy's.
Yeah,
And you
man.
were that. I was
I was
you
like
just
high and
lent,
drunk,
bro.
Yeah.
You just looked like you were bending, bro. I was like.
Mhm.
But after that, yeah, I can't really remember. We just become tight too soon.
Mhm.
I can't remember when we just like eased into it. We were just like, "Aight, boss, we're down."
Yeah. How long ago is this now? How far are we going back? Like 3-4 years?
Something like that, you know.
Mhm.
Something like that. It's going back there,
It's felt like longer.
bro. Trust me, too long, man.
Yeah, when I met you, like we just clicked. Like
Yeah.
we were both jokers, both clowns.
But
like,
I just think it's mad how fucking we met and we both didn't know that we had personality disorders and shit like that. And we were just getting a by track and we were dealing with the same shit. And we're both dealing it in different ways here, but we'd just sit down together and just talk it out, yeah. But fucking how weird is it that when we grew up, like, and we actually went and seeked help and shit like that, that we have personality disorders, both of us.
Yeah, we've got a
like, it's not just normal things.
Similar varying degree of mental health disorders. Like
It's
we're not like what I try and explain to people is like we're not the same person. Like we're very similar, but we have our differences, but we are like ridiculously similar at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're similar, but there's disagreements on certain things.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Like my personality definitely makes me more angry. I'm a more angry person. Well, it's lit most of the time. Sorry.
It's lit. It's lit.
I'm just gassed, man. You gotta learn to deal with it.
Yeah, man. Just know at the time, yeah, if you ever get diagnosed with a personality disorder, that it's lit. It's lit, guys. Like like it's pretty lit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, nah, actually, one thing I can say about it being lit is that if you're by yourself, you're not really by yourself. There's like other sides to you,
that's what I'm saying.
Like there's these voices in your head. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. There's like you can see the benefit of it. It's easy to be like that guy that's like, oh, it's all shit, and like kind of be like that. But I think like a more positive way to look at it is to look at the sides that actually can, you know, be all right.
Yeah, no, it's it. There's definitely times where it's more than all right. Well, for me, because I cannot like the manic like episodes I can have and shit like that. I'll just be happy for like weeks, but you can end up like hospitalized for that shit though. Because like you can just send yourself insane thinking everything's okay. It's really fucking weird. It's like I end up at the hospital because of like attempted suicide and shit, but I could also end up there if I get too happy. That just fucks my head up like semi.
Well, I'm sure there's also times that maybe it like pushes you forward to do stuff like in a manic state because you got all that energy.
Oh no, definitely.
Like you could do something positive with it for sure.
Yeah, it's like when I'm in them like them states, it's like I have no anxiety and it's not like I don't give a shit what I'm doing, but it's like more like I don't care what people think about me. And that's a alright state to be in. And like feeling happy is meant to be a positive thing, but it can
it can turn to a negative.
Negative.
Yeah, Do you want to talk about your upbringing? You don't have to. These are just
Yeah,
things
man.
I've got written down.
Yeah, man.
But I don't want to like keep it to the point where I'm just like, do you want to talk about this? Do you want to?
Yeah,
Like,
man.
so, like, yeah, if you're open to talk about your upbringing,
Yeah, shoot some
we can
things.
join you. I can join you on that.
Yeah, man. Do it.
Let's get with it, man. Like, so obviously I've known you for 3-4 years. Know
Yeah.
pretty much every inch of detail, but for the people that don't know, right? Where were you born? First of all, where were you born, and um, have you moved around at all, or?
Yeah. I was born in St. Mary's, but at that time my mum was homeless, so we didn't have a house, and I was sleeping in a homeless shelter when I was like basically just born, basically. And then my mum got a flat above a chip shop, and then we had to move out of there because my dad was trying to like do shit to there. Then we had to move to Reddish, all over the place, and then finally settled in Burnage in the ends.
So how long did you live in Reddish for?
uh Probably like a year or something like that.
Yeah, not too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
How did you find that?
I was just young then, so I don't really
Don't
know.
really
I don't.
know.
I
Mm.
people have seen my mum do things to me, but I personally can't remember that far back.
Yeah. How old would you have been? Like
Like two, something
2.
like that.
Yeah, nah, you
I
won't.
can't remember when I was two.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you moved to Burnage, so
Yeah.
you moved when you were around 2, right?
Yep.
And when you were in Burnage, were you moving into primary school around then?
Yeah, I went
Yeah,
into primary school at that time,
yeah.
and
How
uh,
how was the like entry into primary school? Because it was a bit weird for me personally.
yeah, I used to have to have sit with aftercare teams and stuff like that
Yeah.
when I was in primary school.
Mhm.
Because I draw like because I hated my dad. I draw pictures of my dad dead in like art and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I used to have to have therapy and stuff like that. Because I had like bad ADHD as well when I was a kid as well. It was like way worse, and I just flip out and do random things.
Yeah. With
But
the ADHD, I think that's quite common for someone that's been through trauma.
oh yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah,
mind's racing, and I definitely dealt with a very similar circumstance when I was younger. Uh, Big signs of ADHD, anger management issues,
yeah.
and
That as well. That as well.
uh, kind of lived in a bit of a fantasy land where I felt like I never did anything wrong. Say if I was violent in ways or
Oh yeah,
angry in
yeah, yeah.
ways, I personally wouldn't see that side of me. Um,
No, the thing like it was just glorified where I
yeah,
lived. It was, like well, not glorified, but everyone did it. Everyone's like, yo, you fight.
it's normalized.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? If someone steps to you, you fight.
Hmm.
Like when you're younger and stuff like that. And if you lose the fight, then you're getting bullied.
Yeah. Well,
But
were you fighting in primary school when you
uh,
first moved in?
yeah, I think like the first few weeks, I got expelled because I picked up a brick and tried to hit a kid with it.
Jeez.
And, and shit like that. But then after that, I sort of calmed out.
Mhm.
But then as soon as I left primary school and went into high school, the first year, some year 11 said something to me, and I just ran at him and started punching him up. And he had a knife and he like basically stabbed me in the head. And I was just like, fuck this. Like when I was younger, I didn't give a shit. I was like, fuck this, beat the shit out of him, went home, and I wondered why the whole way I was walking home, and I couldn't see out my right eye, and all I could feel was like really hot. And I got home, and like there was flesh hanging over my eye, and my
Mhm.
head was like pouring in blood and shit like that. And I had to go fucking hospital and get stitches in my head and stuff like that.
Well, let's talk about primary school a bit more before we get to the whole high
Yeah.
school situation, because I know high school is like a lot of stuff happens, but like after you getting expelled in primary school, you say you settled down a bit more. Did you
Oh yeah,
find
yeah, yeah.
primary school in a whole like a good experience compared to high school?
Yeah, yeah. It was, nah. Primary school was fine for me
Yeah.
because, like, when I was a kid, I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing.
I
Like
feel
the
like as kids we were like very different. Like
yeah,
I
like
feel
I wouldn't think about anything. Like I just do it,
mhm.
and I'd get in shit a lot for it. I get in shit a lot for it, like for what I do. But when I was younger, it was just like if my something's like if I want to do it, just do it,
Yeah, and you
and
get a
that's
bit
the way.
more acceptance
Yeah,
because you're a kid.
and I still think like that today though. Like that's something I still carry. And I'm like,
Mhm.
if I want to do something, just do it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't feel like there's anything that I could not do if you work hard enough. But then
yeah,
again, that's
within
another sort
reason
of
as
like
well.
yeah. But that's another sort of like mental disorder
Mhm.
tied in
Well,
with the bipolar.
well, because I know primary school for me, somehow for once in my life, I was like not popular, but no one like bullied me or anything.
Oh yeah,
Didn't
definitely,
get
definitely.
bullied. I was like top of the class for sports, top of most classes for like reading, writing, stuff like that. And I did
Yeah,
really
I
well in
think
primary
because
school. Like that
I
was like
think
probably the best part of my
yeah,
education. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's because when you're little in it, like all you want to do is just play with people in it, and the most it gets to is like a bit of a slap, and then one of them
Yeah.
cries and stuff like that.
Uh huh.
That's not really anything. Like so, as a kid, it'd probably affect you, but you'd probably be like, I'm a bit of a
Yeah,
cry.
but it's like you get over it as well
Yeah, but
quicker.
it's
You
it's
don't
just
hold a
like
grudge.
it's really small. The next day you'll go play with him, and you'll be all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
And you're
it that's
more likely to be apologetic when you're a kid as well. There's more
yeah.
apologies flying around.
But yeah, I was just getting by in primary school. I was
Yeah.
just doing my thing, and the after work people used to have to sit with me every week and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And I used to have to. My mum would have to sit outside, and I'd have to tell them. They'd ask me questions about how it is at home and stuff.
Yeah. I've been through a similar thing.
Mm.
Uh, like where they get you to draw, kind of ask you how would you envision this type of a situation? How would you feel if this happened? Type of thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's how I got like into there because they'd called me up for like like having ADHD and stuff like that.
mhm.
So I thought it's got a bit too much. Like we need to calm him down with a bit of therapy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I go in there and then they were just talking to me and stuff like that. Oh shit! I forgot what I'm saying.
They were talking to you in the therapy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, do you think the therapy at that age benefited you?
Uh, I'd say like you're a bit too young to estimate that. And I'd say if I was gonna estimate it, I'd I'd say it's not really done much because I still grew up to
No,
be
but
the way I
I
was.
mean for the time, the like while you were young.
Uh, yeah, like but at that time, up until I was about 9, I was like fine with everything
Yeah.
because I used to go to my nan's all the time, and my nan
Mhm.
would look after me, and I wouldn't have to go to see my mum and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So like back when I was younger, I didn't even call my mum.
Yeah.
I used to call my sister mum, and I used to just stay with them, and I never really was with my mum, so it was all right. But I did live with her for a long while with abuse and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
then got taken out of it for a little bit, and then put straight back in it when my nan died.
Yeah, that must have been like quite a confusing situation when someone other than your mum comes into your life and treats you better than your own mum. And at
Yeah.
such a young age, you kind of get in this like idealization of like
Mm.
oh, she's not my family. This is like my family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're already getting like that split apart at such a young age kind of attitude. Like, oh, the people who say they care most about me don't really and won't
Hmm.
actually care for me properly. So, but these people that don't claim they care about me the most. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's how I feel, and I literally I would say I don't have any family. Like, to me, I don't have any family
Yeah.
because they've all done something to that scarred me for life. They've all
Mhm.
done something that scarred me for life, and they all kind of don't give a shit about it
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And they won't talk about what they've done to me and stuff like that. They just
Mhm.
want to skip. They just want to skip over it and forget about it. But like, yeah, my mum's just vile. Fuck her.
Mhm.
And then them two, my sister and brother, are all right, but I just don't speak to them.
Mhm.
But they've done their fair share because when my nan died when I was 9, they were living with my mum,
Mhm.
and then they just got up and left and like just dipped.
Yeah.
Ended up in London, and I was just like, and they knew what my mum was like with abuse and drinking
Yeah,
and
you feel
drugs and stuff
abandoned.
like that. Yeah, they abandoned me there, left me with a alcoholic druggie to get like abused and have like knives held to my neck and stuff like that. And the only sort of help they give me is a phone call like once a week to ask if she's hit me or not and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that just pissed me off when I was a kid. That
So,
was a lot to take in.
yeah, you must have felt a lot of anger towards family and also a lot of fucking clearly abandonment. And
Yeah,
that is like that that age is your building blocks, do you know what I mean? It's the building blocks for all of us. And like
yeah, that's
I
me.
don't want to say it's like made you the person you are today because you made you the person you are, but the way I
No, the
try to
thing is
look at
like
it is if these things didn't happen, would you be the same?
that's a hard thing to say though. That's a hard thing to judge.
No, I'm not trying to judge it. I'm just
Nah, yeah, I'm just
questioning.
thinking like I don't know. What you saying like I lived an alright life, never touched drugs or anything like that.
So, do you think at that point in your life that is when stuff started to kind of crumble for you, like in terms of family relationships?
Oh, definitely, definitely. They were like
So
the
what
worst
age
times
were
of my life.
you around then? About
I was like when it fully started, when the like abuse fully started,
mhm.
I was like 9. I was like
Okay.
9, 10.
Mhm.
And like yeah, my mom used to give me like black and blue bruises, and I used to go into school and I used to call my mom and say what are these bruises, and she's like, oh, he fell over.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't say anything though. I just wouldn't say anything. I was too scared because my mum's got mental health, but she won't admit it because
Yeah.
I feel like
Well, older people have a problem with
yeah,
admitting.
mental disorders are sort of like genetics as well. In plays part in genetics.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess. Yeah.
and I can see the way my mum acts, and I can tell the way she feels, and it's nasty. Because I remember when I used to feel like that, because she's been through some things and she's a vile person. But I've always never wanted to be anything like her. But I feel like I've got her emotions, like because she's violent and she's like way depressive and stuff like
I
that.
wouldn't
And that I feel like that's just me.
I
But
wouldn't say that's genetics. I would say that is more the way you've seen the world. Do you know what I mean? Like the way you were nurtured,
yeah,
the way she raised you, and kind of that environment you were placed in from the age of being born. That it was violent. There was abuse, there was all these different horrible things, and that is gonna put some sort of a scar on you. Do you know what I mean? And it also
Oh, it definitely
teaches you to. So your mum never taught you anything. What I'm trying to say is your mum never taught you anything good, but she
did.
taught
Yeah.
you everything not to be, which a lot
Oh,
of kids
definitely.
don't get. Do you know what I mean? Like their parents like,
Yeah.
ooh, little boy, ooh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like very, very protective, all this, that, and the other, and they don't
Well,
really get a sense for what you shouldn't be, so they tend to be arseholes when they grow up.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've seen plenty of people like that have, because where I come from, it's normal. This shit's normal. Like,
Mhm.
because down there, shit like this will happen. You might be homeless for a bit. You sleep on the field. It ain't shit, bro. That's how everyone treats it down there. So like, you can't really act like a pussy when you're there, because you just get fucked up if you're weak. You just get fucked up. And like I was dealing with that, like going outside, didn't want to go outside because I'd get fucked up, and I didn't
Mhm.
want to stay inside because I'd get fucked up as well. And it was just like I didn't know where to go. I was confused.
Yeah, you must have wanted to find some escape and like run away from the situation.
Mm.
So going into high school, did anything change, or did it kind of stay that way?
Uh, I'd say it got worse when I got into high school,
Yeah.
because my mum was like, she brought me up to be a nervous kid. Like I was nervous. Like I never had no confidence, and I was like scared as shit of everything, because like what I'd seen was just like not right. And it's more to do with what I seen when I was 9, which I don't want to go into.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was stuff like that. I was so nervous, and then going into high school and stuff like that, I was the only white kid in like all my form and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
yeah, there was like racism. Obviously, I touched on it before. I got stabbed. Uh, I was smoking weed at that time as well.
Mhm.
I was smoking weed when I was 11 until I was like, until I was 19, something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, 19. But yeah, there was a lot of things that went down in high school. Like I used to not want to go in and stuff like that, and my mum would keep me off high school, and not let me go and stuff like that, because she wouldn't let me out of the house at one point. So I used to have to like skip school and stuff like that. But yeah, and while I was off, she just shout at me, scream in my face, and I'd have to make my own food, like do everything for myself, and for her as well.
So that must have like in a way really messed with your education.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never used to revise, because like I've got a problem with like concentrating.
Mhm.
I cannot concentrate on something unless I'm like
Fully
in
interested in it.
unless I'm interested in it. Otherwise, I just don't care about it.
Mhm.
But I'd say like it hurt. It definitely hurt my education
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But I had enough like I had enough knowledge to not do shit. Like I'm all right with like remembering things and stuff like that. So with tests and stuff like that, it's just like you got to remember things. Like, but yeah,
So you kind of did the same thing as me in high school, just cruise through. You don't really pay attention. You just
yeah,
get what needs to be done,
yeah,
and that's it. Like you don't
yeah,
put in any more effort than just like mandatory stuff. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, mostly because back then as well, like when I was like really young, like when I was like 11, I used to be like really violent. I
Mhm.
used to like, because like the only white kid, and there used to be like racism and shit like that, I'd be like, yo, fuck this, and I'd always end up fighting on like throwing chairs and stuff like that, and then always end up in like SIU and stuff like that, and again going through therapy again, like during the time that I was sent out of classes and stuff.
I feel like high school is definitely, it's a point in your life where you're going through hormonal changes anyway, because you're turning into a teenager, and then you're dealing with a whole bunch of other guys that are going through changes and filled with testosterone. It's like a fucking, it's like walking into a gym where everyone's on roids. You just don't want to be there, and if you're gonna be there, there's gonna be a fight. Do you know what I mean? In my high school, there was at least 3 fights a day, and because there's so many people, all different walks of life, but it was again mainly Asian populace. There was racism. There was things that really do get you wound up, and I can relate to you on the subject of being violent in high school. I nearly got arrested in high school for pummeling a guy's face into a wall. I was constantly in detention, which was like the mildest it got for me. Like detention was like nothing. Whereas then I was constantly put in exclusion, where you put in a different building. But that was sweet with me. It kind of gave me an incentive to keep doing it, because we got toast in there and we get to do nothing all day. So it's fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Like, you find the exclusion stuff as the safer than the actual fucking high school stuff.
Yeah. I'd say there was like, I'd say my high school thing was normal. Like getting bullied is kind of normal. Like everyone gets bullied.
Oh, it's beyond normal. It is high school. Do you know what I mean?
I could deal with that. Like, people would want to fight me every day and stuff like that. And I got so like, I never used to want to fight, because my mum said, if someone punches you, you don't punch him back. That's what she used to say to me all the time.
But that's an impossible situation to find yourself in. If you do that, you're just gonna get hurt.
Yeah. Well, that's what she'd say when she used to hit me as well. She was like, "Don't you dare hit me back" and shit like that.
So it's kind of a almost like a warning, a subliminal way to say like, "Oh, I'm gonna hit you and you're not gonna hit me back," type thing.
Yeah. There was a situation. It was like mostly just fighting and stuff, like normal fighting and stuff. Yeah. And then there was a situation.
Obviously, don't get into anything that will incriminate you, but go into like details, but maybe reword it if it is anything like beyond anything that you'd get given a warning for. If it's like I said, I nearly got arrested. And I'm not going to give details of, like, the guy that I pummeled his face into a wall and any of that, because it is, like, proper incriminating shit.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is, I'm going to call him, Raggedy Ann, man.
Raggedy Ann. Okay, so set the scene.
Right. We're in the classroom, and I was cracking on with my English and stuff. And I used to have the Motorola Flip then, and I was playing some shit game on it. And then there was this kid that had been harassing me for months. And he turned around to me and he was like, "Oh, I'm glad your nan's dead." And at that point, I just lost my shit. I flipped my table at the teacher, and then she's like, told me to get out. And there was like 3 teachers, and I sat outside of the class and I stared at him. And every time someone opened the door, I'd say to him, "Watch when you come outside, you're dead." And then, so they kept him behind for a bit, but I stayed there, and he had to leave, and I beat him to a point where, I beat him pretty bad, and I got told off for it.
Hospital journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a hospital journey.
Yeah.
Which also led to like having to have police officers in
Yeah.
and shit like that.
So that again, another thing that we're weirdly too similar on is when I was in high school, the guy who shall not be named, because right now, if he ever listened to this, he knows that I'd do it again. But I seen him in the village recently. Came into the vape store and he looked at me and he kind of looked at me for a good minute, and I was like, "What you looking at?" And then I realized who it was, and then the guy just shuddered away, put his eyes down to the ground, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, Rossi." I was like, "Sorry, what? Sorry?" And he's like, just being really like kind of anxious, and I'm surprised that it can still affect them this many years later, and it kind of proves a point, because what happened was in high school, yeah, I got bullied, like the usual shit, but this kid, he just was super cheeky. He was in the year below me, and I was like, he just used to say stuff, and I was like, yeah, whatever, man. And then I was walking out of the school, so I was in the corridors, and then I hear, "Oh, um, I'm glad your mum's dead," type thing. And I just turned around and I said, "Say that one more time." I'd already lost my shit on the first time, but I said, "Say that one more time." And he just looked me straight in the eyes. And I'll give him this. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I am glad your mum is dead." And I just fucking ran at him, gripped him, threw him up against this brick wall. And it was an ambulance call. Police come down. I'm there, like, I was in a situation very similar, but
there was 2 times I was in the situation like
yeah,
both times kind of played out the same, so
yeah,
there's no point in me going into detail about the other.
Yeah, the thing is, once it happens once, people catch word of it and they're like, "Oh, they get that ego thing of like, oh, he wouldn't do that to me," so they try it, and you just do the same thing to them. Do you know what I mean? And eventually, people get the gist. Do you know what I mean? Like, you say something around that area, you tell them. You already told them before. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you mention this one particular thing or these 2 particular things, I am gonna make you so close to death you could kiss it.
That's what there's a few things that are my triggers.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you don't have to explain them, but like, because I'm pretty sure people who listen to this podcast will probably already know. Do you know what I mean? As in, like, they will be able to tell because they're intellectuals, unlike the people we dealt with in high school.
What a guy, man.
But yeah, so high school, pretty tough situation. Violence, the usual. I hate to say it, it's kind of expected. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you've had that sort of a life, what do you expect someone to be like? Do you know what I mean?
You've not had anyone to stay you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of inevitable that you're going to end up doing something bad. Even if it is the one thing, you are going to end up doing something bad. You don't know any better.
Well, right. Let's get away from the whole education bollocks, because I think education's boring.
Yeah.
What have been some of the hardships in your life? Let's maybe try and keep it. People get the violence. We understand that. What other hardships have you been through?
I'd say, yeah, definitely. Like when I was getting like kicked out of my house and stuff, like constantly.
Yeah.
As a young kid, and I was being passed back and forth like to everybody, and stuff like that, and just like even going up to now, learning that I shouldn't just be somebody's like go-to. Do you know what I mean? Like, or just you end up running to them. Like, I shouldn't do that for somebody unless they would do that for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That was definitely something to come into my mind.
I think we were having a conversation like that recently, where
Yeah.
people would call you up and be like, "Yo, come down," and you just do it out of the goodness of you. But
Yeah.
I feel like enough is enough. Do you know what I mean? You've done enough for people. You got nothing to prove to them, and your friendship to people and the brotherhood that you can bring to people and your wisdom, streetwiseness, what you can bring to the table is worth more than just being, just being like a go-to person.
Yeah. It's mostly with like relationships and stuff, but it has happened with like friends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Back in a time when we were trapping and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But people like certain friends would only ring me for certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and then friends just ended up becoming like childhood friends that I've met from, like primary school,
Mm-hmm.
just because of drugs, and they're just using me for drugs, and then when I quit doing it, they're not there anymore. Like yeah, it's like childhood memories and stuff like, because they'd only hit me up when they wanted something off me,
Mm-hmm.
and then the girls do that to me as well. They only will hit me up when they want something, like they want me to come down and shit.
I think around that time as well, when we were trapping, that it was a hard place for us anyway, and I think we would
Definitely.
just accept any type of outside contact. I feel like we were more tendent to run to people and kind of try and get involved in something other than what we were doing. Just because you need to escape. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though it's like temporary escape, do you know what I mean? Like you run away, you be with this girl for however many hours, you come back, you do your shit, and I don't know. I think we needed it at that point, but it got us just into more difficult situations.
Yeah.
It kept bringing us back to that life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I've always had a constant that I always end up back somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when I do get back there, it's recognizing that I can just get out there fast rather than letting it take me.
Yeah.
And that's with like mind states as well.
Yeah.
I can come back to mind states from ages ago and just be like, nah, don't fuck this.
Mm-hmm. So how would you say you're dealing with your mental health currently, and maybe you can talk a bit about like when we were trapping and how you were dealing with it then?
Yeah. At that point, everyone would. I tried to speak to my mum and told her I was depressed when I was 15,
Mm-hmm.
and she just told me like it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "You're trying shit." So I was like, "All right, okay." And then up until I was 18, the only way I deal with it is like taking drugs,
Mm-hmm.
like uppers, taking a lot of uppers and
Mm-hmm.
smoking a lot of weed, and I'd ended up building myself into an addiction
Mm-hmm.
just because it used to make me happy and I'd
Mm-hmm.
feel something rather than nothing. But I used to mix them with my medication and stuff, and I ended up being such, when I quit doing drugs and stuff like that, I ended up being such like a nervous wreck that I couldn't go outside the house, and I was fighting like withdrawals and stuff like that, and it was the worst time of my life, and it's weird because I can't even describe the sort of hell that I was living in.
Yeah, you only know if you've dealt with it yourself. It's one of them, like, you can't explain to someone how withdrawing feels or how being so anxious and panicking so much that every time you leave your house that you have a fucking panic attack, you feel like you're gonna die, you have the thoughts that you're gonna die, and then you just regress into being a recluse inside your own home. And even when you're in your own home, you're dealing with those panic attacks anyway. You're dealing with those thoughts anyway. It's just that you have this sensation that because you're in the four walls of the house, that you're a bit safer.
Yeah, you feel like, oh, if I'm in the house,
Nothing can get to me.
Nothing can get to me, and it's also like, yeah, I feel like I got into this place like I was like, if I go outside, well, I basically had a manic episode where I was like, if I go outside the house, I generally thought that someone was trying to kill me. I generally thought someone was trying to kill me, and every time I step outside the house, I'd get like weird feelings and like in my body and stuff like that, like feeling like someone stabbed me or something like that. And I used to panic a lot, and I'd only feel safe when I was in the house, sat down, and like I couldn't eat. It horrible.
Hold on, the connection's cutting out a little bit. Let's have a look. It might be my connection, actually. I don't know. What's going on here? Hold on.
One second.
Right, we will get right back to it. We're just gonna sort out the Discord. Hold on. Give me 2 secs. We will be right back to it. Unfortunately, the Discord is playing up a little bit. See.
There we go.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working now.
Perfect. Let me just reset up that capture.
Why? What happened there?
I have no clue, mate. Like for some reason, the connection just started going a bit booky. There we go. Perfect. Back. So we were on the topic of when you were getting stabbing pains, panic attacks.
Oh yeah. I'd get into states where I'd be panicking so much, and I'd felt like I was getting like, yeah, I don't know, I was so panicky, and I'd stopped like chilling and like doing like some like bad stuff. Like I used to do robbery and shit like that, and I just stopped doing that, and I used to chill with some bad people. And
when he says robbery, he means robbing food out the fridge. By the way.
Oh yeah, and all that other delicious goods, man. And then yeah, I was like, because they didn't like that I stopped doing that and stuff, so I was nervous about that, and I was just also panicking, and like the drugs had got to my head and twisted me, and like my mum was still about in my life at that point, and she would kept like feeding me like abuse and stuff like that, and I just cracked. I could feel like pain in my stomach and stuff like that, my ribs, and then I honestly thought I was like, I need to ring an ambulance. I was like, I'm going to die. I was like, I'm going to die. And it's weird because the like when you're asked about your mental health and stuff like that, they ask you if you're on drugs, and like the weirdest thing is, it does feel like it feels like you're on a drug, but you've taken nothing. You've taken nothing.
It feels like you've overdosed. Do you know what I mean? But in reality, all you've done is overdosed on your mind.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like overthinking everything to a point, like where
it just becomes too convincing. You've gave yourself so many reasons and truths that, like, you just start to have these sensations. You start to feel it for real, and it's probably, like, I would say panic attacks are the worst thing I've ever dealt with.
Oh yeah.
Because they just ruin your time. You can't do anything, you're in pain, you're convinced that something's going wrong with you, and I could imagine that's what like being schizophrenic feels like, that you're convinced these things are just constantly happening when they're not, and it's
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
it just seems real. Do you know what I
I
mean? It seems too real, and it's honestly scary.
I know friends with schizophrenia, and like
Mhm.
when I'm talking to them about stuff like that, and they're talking about stuff like that, I
Mhm.
feel like I can relate in some ways. Like
Mhm.
I definitely feel like hypo depressive modes and stuff like that
Mhm.
definitely like have some sort of like schizophrenic part about them, like where you can see things that you don't think you can see, and you feel things that you shouldn't be able to feel and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And just like I don't know, it's like the worst with the sometimes the only way to describe it is like the feelings you get in your body and stuff like that. Like when I was like that panicky and stuff like that,
Mhm.
it's like someone putting the worst thing all over your body and just keep spreading it, and like you're being stabbed while they're doing it, and it's disgusting.
Mhm.
I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin whatsoever,
Mhm.
and that's when it really started to take a fucking toll on me, and like I was in and out of hospital every like few weeks and stuff.
So from then, how are you doing now? Because I'm sure people will be able to relate to
Uh,
the difficulties, but I also want them to know that there is hope.
yeah, well, I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
I just got out of a psyche ward,
Mhm.
and I feel like it helped
Mhm.
because it just made me realize that I don't want to end up there.
Mhm.
And they were telling me, if you like, they pretty much do tell you, if you don't want to end up like in a proper psyche ward and not just a room by yourself,
Mhm.
like you need to get some help. And
Mhm.
then they help you, and they'll give you leads to like therapy, and like help you out with your medication and stuff, and make sure come around to your house, make sure that you're not feeling down or anything like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I do feel like it's helped a lot. And plus, like, I just feel like ev- you need to take a step back from your problems and look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, be objective.
When I come out of there, I was like, I'm really doing things and getting angry and doing all this weird shit just over these what I realized to come to now could be quite small problems compared to the rest of mine. But
Mhm.
I'm letting them take center stage when I
Mhm.
shouldn't.
Mhm.
And that's what I've sort of realized. Like I need to deal with past things that I've buried down before I even should be thinking about like these new problems. I need to chop them all down and get to the core of all of it, so I can be so I know more about myself and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel at the moment I feel good. I've been taking my medication and making sure I do things and keeping myself active, and it's all been going pretty good. Like
Yeah, I think you're doing well. I think you're doing
yeah,
really well.
my
'Cause
mind's
what
10
you
times calmer.
what you're trying to do is difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
it's not easy, and people we know, like our mates, um, I don't know how to word it. I don't want to say like they're not the best people for that type of advice, 'cause they haven't really been through it. But
Yeah,
what I would say is the reason why I am so close to you is because we have been through a lot of similar aspects of our lives. We've been through very similar situations, and we've kind of ended up the same way. So it's not just you. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And and I would say that in a way we've turned out our best selves because of who we are, and the fact that we do have each other there to kind of bounce back off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like bounce some information off and be like, yo, I'm feeling like this. And you know that I can kind of understand it from an angle that is closer to what you actually are going through, rather than someone who's not been in a ward, or someone who's not really tried committing suicide that many times, someone who doesn't cope with a personality disorder and such things.
I'm just gonna say, like, everybody, no matter who they are the shit. Like, that's how they gotta think of themselves. You are the shit. You know what I'm saying? You are the. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta flex, man. You just gotta flex. Like, that's as people would say. Like, when they say to me, like, "Oh, you're a bit arrogant because I'm a because I'm a outgoing person. I'm like hyper all the time and stuff like that. And like, I'm pretty cheeky and stuff like that. They'd be like, "Oh, you're arrogant," and they say to me, and I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm the shit. I'm my own king in my own world." You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how everyone should think, innit? That's how everyone think. Like, like you got to realize what you're worth. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the hardest discovery. You got to realize what you're worth. Everyone's worth the same, but you got to realize it.
Everyone's worth the same, but you're worth more than other people. Just think about it.
Yeah. In your own head, you are worth more than other people.
That's it. You are number one, and as like people say it's selfish, but maybe it is, but maybe we've just been taught wrongly about being selfish. Maybe we've been taught that being selfish is like a really bad thing, when in reality it's quite neutral. Like, as long as you're not doing it too much and you've got balance with the selfishness, that it really can be positive, that you're pushing yourself forward.
Being selfish is not a negative thing. Sometimes you just need to let things go and work on yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And then definitely me, because I definitely like to give a shit about someone else more than I do.
Yeah.
And that's one of my things. So when it dissipates and I need to let go of it, it's hard for me to do that, because I'm like, now I've got to focus on myself, which I don't want to do. And then you think you got to come to the realization, I've got to do it now. I've got to do it, otherwise I'm fucked. I've got to realize what the fuck's going on in my head.
What keeps you motivated moving forward, and to keep moving forward?
The hope that one day I'll be calm as fuck. The hope that one day I'll just be chilling, I'll have family and stuff like that, and I can just forget about like this part of my life and all about all of the fucking past and stuff like that. I could just forget about it, and I'll just be calm with a family. I can bring up kids the way that I wasn't brought up.
Well, that's definitely a good thing to keep in your mind, like a goal, and not like a silly one like quite a lot of people do. Like, I want to be the best surgeon in the world, or something like really ridiculous. Like, I want to be the first astronaut to land on Mars. Like, something really stupid. Like, I just know people out there who have these ridiculously high expectations, and do you know what? Fair play to you. You might achieve it, but you also want to have an image that you know you can achieve through hard work.
All I'm saying is nobody wants to be 70 and alone.
Exactly.
And some people live so in the moment that they don't think about that time.
Yeah, they don't think about the future at all.
Because I know what I want, which is what I just touched on, like that sort of stuff. But I can forget about that and just fucking be an absolute idiot.
And just throw it all away.
And just throw it all away. Or even like small things that are going to happen for me. I just throw them away, because like I'm just like, oh, fuck that. So I do feel like it's calm for me to be depressed. Like, being depressed for me is calm.
Yeah, it's your level playing field.
That's my level playing field. That's all I've ever felt, and that's my calm state.
Well, that's again another point we relate on. And people who maybe are listening to this, we are very, very similar people. We are similar in a strangely big amount of things. like, I've probably never met someone that I can relate to more on so many different subjects, especially when
Yeah,
it
like,
comes to mental health and
mhm.
what you want for the future. Like, most people want, oh, I want a really high paying job, and all I've ever wanted for the future was a stable mental health,
Mhm.
um, a nice wife that actually cares and isn't gonna like fuck with my head, and eventually
Yeah.
kids that I can bring up to not take the bullshit of society and not be the nonces that I've seen around. You know, like
Say no names,
teach
bro.
te-
Don't mate.
teach my kid basically not to be a nonce and grow up to be a badass, be an absolute warrior.
Stone Cold G.
Yeah, stone cold killer, man. Um, what do you think of philosophy? Like, this is where I'm gonna. So, I've asked you quite a lot of questions, but these next ones are kind of a bit like off ball, like curveball questions that I thought I'd ask
Gone,
you.
gone, gone.
What do you think of philosophy? And do you have any philosophies?
That's I don't know. I think about a lot of stuff like that. Like,
Mm.
but I don't speak about it because I don't want to seem like a fucking uh
Hippie.
like a hippie.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do think about that sort of stuff. I'm like how did the world come to be the world, and
Mhm.
like how we're born and stuff like that, and what happens when we die and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, I'm interested in that. Probably more interested than I should be. Like, because sometimes it can tip you over the edge,
Oh,
like
for sure.
wanting to know what it's like so much.
Mhm. Do you
Yeah,
have
but
any personal philosophies?
I kind of think that when we die, when we
Mhm.
die, we get reborn.
Mhm.
Well, we get reborn in the we get reborn again, and then that's why we're crying when we come out, because we remember when we died.
Mhm.
And then when you calm down, when you grow older, you start to forget about your past life, and that's why you can't remember when you're like 2 or 3 or something like that.
Mm.
Because
That's interesting.
people try to say like, "Oh, I remember when I was 2. I remember when I was 3." But the
Mhm.
thing is, like, you how?
Maybe they weren't reborn.
Mm.
Maybe they were just born and then they've still yet to be reborn. That could be a possibility.
Or they've lived their life wrong.
Maybe. Maybe.
Oh shit!
Do you have you ever meditated, or what do you think of meditation in general?
I tried it twice,
Mm.
and I was like, it's calm, but I can't
Mhm.
stay still for long enough.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like,
What do you think of meditation? I know it's quite hippie. It's not. It's quite 'cause I'm not big on. I like spirituality. I like thinking I'm in touch with myself, and like I've done astral projection. I've gone deeper than fucking Himalayan monks have. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been to
mhm.
the deep levels, and I still come out. And you know me, I've said this millions of times. Like, people have religious experiences and stuff like that, and I always say it's bullshit. It's just a bunch of hippie nonce crap. Doesn't mean
Yeah,
anything. It just calms you down.
yeah, that's like, but like I feel like the only reason people believe in God
Mm.
is so that they have
They
something
feel
to
like they've got a
hope for,
purpose as well.
so they feel like you got a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just me. That I ain't trying to
and
say, you know
and
what I mean? But
and for them not to feel like we were just literally an accident. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
humans were an accident.
but the thing is, like, that's the most interesting. You'll never know until it
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah, you could
I
die
wait
and
for it.
then you could go up to this mystical cloudy place that is heaven,
Yeah.
and there might be a big ass dude with a fucking big ass beard with a big ass beam of light that fucking scans you fucking strips you down butt naked and assesses you and fucking goes, you did this when you were 50 years old, you were a nonce, you're not coming to heaven. Then you've got like a 30-minute journey of falling through these fucking spiky ass clouds that hurt you on the way to hell. And then fucking the devil's just right there saying, I know who you are. I know who you are.
You, John.
I've saved you a space right here with me. Do you know what I mean? And it might be just a bunch of nonces down there, and that's hell. Do you know what I mean? Like, just a bunch of nonces playing. Oh no, I won't.
Connect Warbo.
Nah, I was gonna say a certain type of music, but I'm not gonna go into that. That's a bit too. I think people might be able to figure out what I'm trying to say.
Hey, names.
Yeah, trust. I'm trying. What is your plan? Well, this is kind of the same question I was asked before. What's your plan for the future? That's kind of answered that with the motivated moving forward thing. You can talk about what's your plan for the future again if you want, but
that's my long term. But short term is like getting myself into a place where I know why I feel the way I feel sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recognizing to let go of things that are gonna hurt me, and I know they're gonna hurt me. Just learning to let go of them and not let them affect me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good thing to aim for, like a goal that is very achievable within the next couple of years. Maybe you can never tell the time. Do you know what I mean? It's could be 1 year, it could be 10 years, but it doesn't really matter because the end answer is the real only thing that matters. The conclusion is the only thing
that's
that
what I'm
matters.
The beginning sets your plot.
Yeah.
The middle don't matter, and the end.
Mm-hmm.
The end is where you live happy ever after, like fucking Shrek, bro.
What would be your advice for somebody dealing with depression or anxiety?
It's cringy, but it's like...
No pressure, mate. If you get the answer wrong, sorry, you're going down to that noncy hell I'd been talking about.
With that special type of music,
Special type of music.
Oh, shit, man. The pressure's on now, man. It's cliche, but but just stay positive in it, like just knowing like things
you can be
better.
Depressed, but you can have like a positive look at like the future. Like you can be depressed right now, but you can still like have that like positivity.
Don't sit around and think about shit. That's the worst thing to do. And don't self-medicate. Go to the doctors. They got plenty of pill for you. Take two of them.
2 2s, man.
And I have a bit of a sleep. And I promise I'll be smooth, man.
Yeah, that's not bad advice. That's what I'd say as well. Don't self-medicate. That's a big one. Like lots of people out here today self-medicating. I need Xanax. Yeah, of course you do. Doesn't everybody? I could do for Xanax, but I don't sit around and go, do you know what? This is my medication.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I'd fancy a fat diazepam. Who wouldn't? Do you know what I mean? Like
sometimes the pills be good.
Yo, I was talking about this today in group therapy that we were talking about diazepam. And I was trying to give a balanced view on it, that like it is really bad for you because of the addiction. Like that's guaranteed you're gonna get addicted. And you knew me when I was addicted to diazepam.
Oh yeah.
I'd find any excuse to take one because even though the addiction side of it's really bad, you take diazepam, bro. You are sound as a pound. Do you know what I mean? You are sweet. You're fucking. There's no buzz. There's nothing. There's like who creates a pill that makes you feel exactly nothing? You think nothing. You are nothing. That sounds bad to some people. To me, that's fucking bliss. Just to feel nothing at all. Like, usually I feel like pretty stone cold anyway, but like on diazepam, it takes that emotion away. It takes away the feeling of being stone cold. So you're literally nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing's going through your head. You just sat there. You could stare at a wall for 10 hours and you'd be like, it's better than, honestly, diazepam was way better than me ever smoking weed, man. And people go, oh, smoking weed calms me down. Well, you've never tried diazepam, mate.
Link me up, bro. DM me, man.
Telling you that.
DM me. I got a good, bro.
Drugs aren't the answer, but diazepam might be. No, don't take. don't take that advice. Diazepam is a serious problem, but
fuck bitches smoke weed.
Yo, do coke off a hooker's arsehole.
Bro, sniff a dirty G-string, bro.
Oh hell yeah, full of some Colombian coke, man.
It's got some winnets in it as well. You sniffing the winnets with it, bro. Little poo popsicles on it and shit, man.
You get even higher. That's higher.
Gas. Yeah, no, the poo gets you higher. It's gas, man. It's gas.
That's beautiful. I think I'll end it on that beautiful advice. We've done an hour, but I'll have to. We've done like an interview type podcast this time because I felt like it'd be a good way for people to get some information on you and be able to introduce yourself, and then when we come to do other podcasts, we can just talk about whatever really, and people won't be like, oh, who's this cis male? Who is this cis male that is commenting on my mental health and he doesn't deal with anything? Do you know what I mean? Like a triggered human being. Like,
bro, I don't care, me, man.
I don't care about triggered people either. That's why I don't tolerate it either, because if someone wants to be triggered, they can go and watch Logan Paul, man.
Mad.
I'd rather people go visit Logan Paul than get triggered on my channel. That's straight facts. You can quote me to that. I'd rather not be famous, or like have any viewers, than have viewers that are triggered by what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's been good, and you gave out some pretty fucking good advice, and it was nice for people to find out a bit more information about you and kind of you get your story out there a little bit as well. Yeah,
man. It's all the therapy, bro.
Oh, trust we have this like we have this saying, whenever we speak, it's the therapy sessions.
Yeah.
Because we both understand each other, we both know each other really well, and we get out more emotion and more out of like speaking to each other than we do therapy, really.
Yeah.
We come out calmer for it, so. But yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking your time out, and thank you for being open, especially on like a podcast and stuff. I know quite a lot of people won't be too comfortable talking about what you've talked about, and you've been open, you've been honest, and that's honestly like more than anyone could ask for. So we appreciate it a lot. Well, I don't appreciate it because you're my mate, and you'll do whatever I say in it. So
yeah.
But I'm sure someone out there appreciates it. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, decent.
Yeah,
right.
She go, man. She definitely appreciates
it. Oh, well, give her one from me. She's my girl, but give her one from me, yeah?
Give one from me. Yeah, don't worry about it. I got your job, one. Don't worry.
I've got you LinkedIn. I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a postcard from the pussy.
Bro, decent. Can it be one by the seaside, bro?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I'll ride her like a donkey in Blackpool, man. Right, I'm gonna end that stream there. Yeah, guys, you found out about my buddy Josh over here, my brother. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here. If you're not watched this live, then you a bitch, and you should really be subscribed to my channel. Hit that notification icon. I'm not just trying to chase clout out here. You feel me? It's been the Mental Manny Podcast. I've been Rossi, and you've been
AKA Horse Choker.
I thought you were gonna say, and you've been pranked. But no, you haven't been pranked. But we are going off, and we're gonna say nasty things about all your mothers.
Fuck you, mum. Why you know?
Because we're in Blackpool currently, and we're gonna ride them like donkeys. Right, see you later, guys.